Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I'm 59, married for over 35 years, with 2 children, my son Adam, 33, and my daughter Lily, 29. Lily has always been my golden girl, not because I favored her over Adam, but because she was driven, charismatic, and seemed to have her head screwed on straight. She graduated top of her class, landed a good job in marketing, and met her now husband Dylan 4 years ago. Dylan made a great first impression. He was charming, attentive, and seemed head over heels for Lily. He came from a modest background, but I've never cared about money in relationships. What mattered was that he treated my daughter well. Over the years, though, I started noticing cracks, little things. The way his eyes lingered too long on other women at family gatherings. How he'd forget to mention certain nights out until after the fact. How his social media was full of women I'd never heard of. I brought up my concerns to Lily once, and she brushed it off with a tight smile. "Dylan's just friendly. Don't overthink it, Mom." I let it go. She was an adult, and I wasn't going to interfere without proof. Fast forward to the wedding day. It was a big, elegant affair at a country estate. Lily looked breathtaking. She'd chosen a timeless lace gown, and she glowed with excitement. Guests mingled in the gardens before the ceremony, sipping champagne and taking photos. I was making my rounds, greeting relatives, when I decided to take a quick walk to the back terrace to get a breather before the ceremony started. That's when I heard voices. The terrace was partially hidden by tall hedges, and on the other side, I recognized Dylan's voice instantly. He was speaking to his best man, laughing low and confident, in that way men do when they think no one else is listening. And then I heard the words that froze me in place. Yeah, I messed around with a few girls. But then I met Sandra, and I can't stop thinking of her. She texted me today saying she can't believe I am marrying someone I don't love, and that she loves me and will be waiting for me. But man, this is my shot, you know? Lily's family's loaded. I'm set for life. I felt my stomach drop. My ears were ringing. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd misheard. Maybe this was some kind of sick joke. But then the best man chuckled and said, "Man, you're lucky she's so into you." And Dylan replied, "Luck's got nothing to do with it. You think I'd put up with her if there wasn't a payoff?" Something in me snapped. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about my daughter's entire marriage being a transaction to him. I stepped out from behind the hedge before I could second-guess myself. Dylan's face drained of color when he saw me. The best man looked like he wanted to melt into the ground. I didn't cause a scene right there. I simply said, "Stay right here." Then I turned and walked straight back into the main hall, found Adam, and told him exactly what I'd just heard. Adam didn't hesitate. He's always been fiercely protective of his sister. He marched right over to Dylan, grabbed him by the collar, and told him to get the hell out before beat the crap out of him. There was shouting, some guests gasping, the best man stammering excuses. Dylan tried to spin it, saying I misinterpreted the conversation, but Adam wasn't having it. Within minutes, Dylan was gone. Out of the venue, his tux jacket left behind in the chaos. The ceremony was obviously off. Guests were confused. Whispers filled the room, and I felt like my legs might give out from the adrenaline. Then Lily came storming up to me. I expected tears, maybe gratitude for saving her from a man who clearly didn't love her. Instead, she was furious. She hissed, "What have you done?" I told her I'd overheard Dylan bragging about cheating on her and marrying her for our family's money, and that Adam had thrown him out. Her response, "I know he cheated. I forgave him. It was before we got engaged. And as for the money, he was joking. You've ruined my wedding for nothing." I was so stunned I couldn't speak for a moment. I asked her if she'd really heard me say he admitted to multiple affairs and that she was basically his meal ticket. She rolled her eyes and said, "You take everything so literally." "We worked through it, Mom. Every relationship has issues. Not everything needs your interference." I told her she had zero dignity, marrying a man who saw her as a paycheck. I told her I was ashamed, not because she'd been cheated on, but because she was willing to sweep it under the rug. She went pale, then bright red, and shouted, "You've embarrassed me in front of everyone," before storming off. The rest of the day was a blur. Guests left early. Some avoided me entirely. Others gave me sympathetic pats on the shoulder. My parents-in-law were stone-faced. Adam stood by me, saying I'd done the right thing. My husband was quiet, supportive in private, but clearly shaken by how badly it had all gone down. It's been 3 weeks since the wedding. That wasn't. Lily isn't speaking to me. She's told relatives I ruined her life and humiliated her in front of everyone. My parents think I overstepped, saying it was her choice to marry him, no matter what I thought. A few cousins have said they admire that I stood up for her, even if she doesn't see it that way now. Here's the thing, I don't regret acting. If I had stayed silent and let her walk down that aisle, I would have felt complicit in her being taken advantage of. But knowing she already knew about the cheating and didn't care has left me feeling hollow. So now I'm left wondering, did I do this for her? Or did I do it because couldn't stand the idea of her marrying someone like that? And if it's the latter, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. OP didn't ruin her wedding. Her perfect man did that the moment he decided she was just a meal ticket. The fact that she already knew about the cheating and still went ahead is heartbreaking. But that's on her, not OP. OP acted on fresh, damning information that she clearly wasn't willing to tell OP. And honestly, marrying someone who openly says he's using you for your family's money. That's not love, that's a transaction. She should be thanking OP for exposing him before she wasted years of her life, not blaming OP for the consequences of his own words. OP is right, her daughter has zero dignity and self-respect. And now let's hear community's opinion. Your daughter is in deep denial, and unfortunately, people in denial will often lash out at the person who holds up the mirror. She's mad because you popped the fantasy bubble she was trying to sell to everyone that day. If she had gone through with the wedding, she could have pretended everything was fine and avoided the public embarrassment. But the reality is, she was willing to hitch herself to a man who disrespects her to his friends. And you overhearing that wasn't something you could just swallow. Not the a-hole, and you probably saved her from a much bigger public humiliation down the line. Not the a-hole. The level of disrespect your S.il showed in that conversation is unreal. Not only was he bragging about cheating, but he was also mocking your daughter and treating her like a bank account. Even if she forgave him for the cheating, it's obvious she's ignoring the part where he doesn't value her at all. You didn't overhear a joke. You overheard his real thoughts when he thought no one important was listening. The fact that she's defending that instead of defending herself says everything. You didn't ruin her life. You just refused to let her sell it to the highest bidder. This isn't about you being controlling or overstepping. This is about your daughter being so invested in appearances that she'd rather be publicly married to a man who's using her than admit she made a mistake. You overheard him admit to multiple affairs and that she was a financial opportunity, not a life partner. If that's not a red flag worth acting on, I don't know what is. She's angry now because you blew up the wedding she wanted for show. But years from now, when she's not under his influence, she may realize you actually did her a favor. Definitely not the a-hole.
Me, male 30, and wife, female 27, own a sizable farm that is usually the nexus of family events. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 300 acres, and electrical hookups for 4 campers, so the whole clan can come stay for extended visits in the summer. We built it that way deliberately. My cousin Bill, male, early 50s, has a daughter, Alice, female 18, from his first marriage. His first wife was an immigrant with no family in our country and no contact with any family in her home country. She passed away when Alice was 2, and Bill remarried Tanya, female early 50s, 6 months later. They've since had 3 kids, male 14, male 12, female 8. Alice is a brat. Everything in their house revolves around either the boys, their 2 oldest together, or their princess, their daughter together, and Alice is left behind. She doesn't get to go on family trips. They wouldn't pay for extracurricular stuff. She couldn't take elective classes that had extra fees, etc. I'm not a smart man, but I can recognize a kid that's hurting inside and being neglected. She's like Mr. Hyde with them and Dr. Jekyll elsewhere. For the past 4 summers, she's been coming to work on my farm because her parents don't want her around over summer break. She turned 18 recently, and leading up to her birthday, her dad was very adamant that she was being kicked out of the house when she turned 18 because it will teach her responsibility. We, wife Alice and I, discussed it, and early on her birthday, we pulled up with my truck and packed her stuff up. We only packed things she purchased herself or things that were given to her by another person. My boss got creative with our benefits provider so we can get Alice on my medical benefits until she finishes university. She starts in a few weeks, so she's able to go to therapy and she's able to get back into sports while still saving her money. This is where it all comes apart. Bill and Tanya are pissed that we took her in and refused to come to family events. Part of the family refused to attend as well because I'm undermining Bill and Tanya. I'll understand when I have kids. After they refused to attend events, a few others said that with gas being so expensive and not everyone attending, they'd skip as well. My answer of, okie dokie, come if you want and don't if you don't, further upset people who thought I should have tried harder to get people to come. So now we're down to about 1/4 of the family in attendance for events. My aunt suggested that we have Alice over on weekends and that she stay in a dorm during the week to smooth things over. I think that's dumb, but I'm dumb and stubborn. My wife thinks it's dumb, and she's really smart, but also very much attached to the situation. Alice said she'd rather stay with us, but would try the dorms to help make peace. Am I the a-hole for not going with the dorm suggestion to keep the peace? Not the a-hole. They mistreated her for years, kicked her out of the house, and now they want to demand that you kick her out too. Horrible people, and you shouldn't think twice about the dorm unless Alice actually wants that. Not the a-hole. You know for sure that Bill won't kick the younger ones out to teach them some responsibility. I would tell your family members that they looked the other way while Bill neglected her for 16 years. They can damn well look the other way when you're not neglecting her. And for craps and giggles, tell them Alice will inherit your place if you don't have kids. Not the a-hole. They kicked her out and told her to fend for herself. They don't get to throw a tantrum just because she found a safe place to land. Edit for info. Why I called Alice a brat. Typical teenage acting out, but cranked up. Slamming doors, screaming matches with her stepmom, swearing. Probably 3 or 4 big blowouts a week, and sometimes over some pretty disproportionately small stuff. I've watched her grow, and the acting out definitely came after the exclusion from family stuff. Edit 2. Bit of a mini update. I ripped the Band-Aid off with the old fam jam, and told them that fewer mouths to feed isn't the punishment they thought it was. Anyone else who was coming is still welcome, and I'd have the extra cash from not feeding so many people to help folks concerned about gas prices make it out if they so choose. I'm in like 4 different family group chats, and they're all lighting up. I'm going to turn my phone on silent for a while and let the sparks fly. Edit 3. Alrighty, here's the update on the situation and a little background info for some consistent topics in the comments. So, my family likes to gossip, and they're damn efficient at it. If your truck breaks down with only you in it 5 miles from home, word has reached every aunt and cousin before you're in the door. When I put the word out, it traveled fast. This morning, I've been called all the names in the book, and some new ones, so there may be a revised and updated edition of said book coming out. I've been told I'm a good guy, a bad guy, I'm stupid, I'm smart, I'm short-sighted, I'm thinking ahead. It's been neat. Long story short, I've got about a dozen relatives telling me thanks, and they'll buy me a pint next time they're out, and about triple that who never want to speak to me again. So those are both significant victories. Now, nobody here really cares about me. We're all about Team Alice here. She's a Redditor apparently, and came across the post independently of me showing her. There were tears, born of stress and relief I think, and she's going to be staying here with us until she's ready to start the next chapter of her life. Whatever and whenever that might be. She's got classes picked. Her college picks first-year classes for you for the most part, so it was a couple of electives, and is looking into the women's rec league for a hockey team when the season starts, so she's all set on that front. Regarding feeding everyone and paying for gas, without going into details, I was very fortunate as a young man to be working very, very hard at a job I was woefully underqualified for, while a very wealthy person was on site. Basically, right place, right time. And the chief took me in and mentored me. We have made a lot of money on a business venture together, in addition to me working for him, and since then I haven't exactly had FU money, but enough that I was able to buy the property I live on outright and build my home here with my wife, who also makes good money. Family is important to both of us, and neither of our sides of the family tree have much for money. So we've done our best to make sure money isn't a barrier to getting together and seeing one another. Now, the big news. Tanya drove down to my house this morning. Bill and I had some very loud, very angry words when he drove down last night, after I chose option in the family group chat, so she actually waved a white flag from her car when she pulled up. I shooed the dogs and alpaca away and went out to talk to her, brought her out a muffin, and we had a bit of a chat. Allegedly, Bill was threatening to kick Alice out to scare her straight, and that they weren't actually going to kick her out, and they were caught off guard when we showed up on the morning of her birthday. I told her that she was missing the point, and that I'm not sure I could use small enough words or short enough sentences to explain it to her if she thought that was the only problem. She cried, then peeled out of my driveway at Mach 7, and it's been radio silent since, which I'm currently enjoying. Growing up, it was just my father, me, and my sister. My mother wasn't around that much, so my father would depend on me to look after my sister while he worked. I would basically act as a mother for years. My dad did amazing. We grew up poor, but we didn't know that. When I got pregnant with my oldest, I moved out. I wasn't there physically to help, but one day I decided when I was 19, I would start saving up money for college for her. At this time, she had big hopes and dreams, even had a big old dream goal board. I didn't tell her I had started this, only my father knew. Now I, 32 female, have saved up $13,200. It's not much, but it's a good start. On Saturday, my sister, 21 female, and her boyfriend, 28 male, were over visiting. She started to tell me that she was looking into college classes, and she was going to visit a couple in the next few weeks. I told her that was great, and I was proud of her for finally taking that step. I explained what I had saved up for her, and she was grateful. 3 days later, she calls and asked if she could come by later in the week to get her funds. I said, I guess so, but what was the plan? When did school start? You know, normal questions. And this is where she informs me that she and her boyfriend decided that he would attend college, since they believe he had a higher chance of succeeding with a degree for a career that would benefit their life together. She met this man 7 months ago. He had 6 different jobs, no home, borrowing her car, and literally nothing to show for the past 28 years of his life. He seems nice and respectful. I told her to come by this weekend so we could talk, and she agreed. She thinks this is a great plan, but I'm not feeling it. I didn't save up all this money just to hand it over to someone I don't know. I'd rather give it to one of my children for college. Would I be an a-hole if I didn't give her the money, unless she's doing schooling, or at least something that benefits her lifestyle only? Not the a-hole. You don't owe her anything. She should be grateful that you, A, took care of her, and B, thought of her. Tell her that you didn't save up the money for his dreams. It is for her. If she doesn't go, tell her the money will be going towards your children's college funds. If she miraculously changes her mind and says she will go, don't trust that. Don't hand over the money. Ask her for her uni details, admittance letter, course schedule, her student bill account, and you will pay directly into that account. If you hand her the money, her new shady boyfriend will take it. Not the a-hole. This isn't your sister's money. It is your money that you save to benefit your sister. And paying for her boyfriend's college won't necessarily benefit your sister in the long term. Don't give your sister any money. Tell her that you saved this money for her college, not someone else's, and you will pay it directly to the college once she's enrolled. Colleges allow the student to designate an authorized payer, who will be notified when the tuition bill is available. If you do give her cash, expect that she will most likely spend it on stuff you don't approve of. Seriously, only pay the money to your sister's tuition account directly. Not the a-hole. None of the funds should go to her directly, and certainly not to him, ever. When she is enrolled in a college, she will have a tuition, billing account with the college, with her name on it as the enrolled student. Only then should you pay any funds, and pay them directly to that account at the college on her behalf. That is the only way to be sure the money will be used for her education as intended. Update. So my husband and I thought it would be better if we didn't have my sister and her boyfriend over, just in case things blew up about the money, so that the kids wouldn't be involved. So I called my sister and explained that the only reason I started saving for her was because when she made that dream board, she was so hopeful and happy. I just wanted to help her with making something on there happen. I explained that I saved this money for her college, and if she chooses not to go, then either the money would be saved until she does, or I'll break it up between my children. She had me on speaker, which was great, because I heard her boyfriend say, "Well, great." My sister said, very aggressively, that she understood where I was coming from, but she felt it was her choice what she did with the money, and it was still going to college. I explained this wasn't inherited money. This was my money. I then hear her boyfriend say he was leaving and would be back. Not even 2 seconds after he was gone, my sister says, "Thank you for not choosing to give me the money." I was confused and asked what she wanted to do about schooling and her boyfriend. She told me even though it wasn't a bad plan, she just wished the plan was with someone she knew she was going to spend her life with, not someone that she's only met a few months ago. She said that even though her boyfriend treats her well and is trying to help within his means, she still doesn't feel that strongly for him, and him choosing his schooling over hers was a big turnoff, seeing as he dropped out of his second year due to it being too stressful. She asked for me to keep the money for her until she can figure things out. I agreed. I told her that no matter what, I was here and always would be. Just let me in on whatever she chooses to do. She understands that the funds will stay with me, and when the time comes, I'll pay for what needs to be paid myself. I just had my first and so far only child 6 months ago. My company shut down temporarily in March, 2 weeks before I would have come off of maternity leave, and there aren't jobs in my field for the duration of this, so I'm a stay-at-home mother for now. My husband and I found out 4 months ago that he has a now almost 6-year-old child. We got together 3 years ago. There was no cheating or anything like that. Apparently, she had tried to find him but couldn't, and the only way she tracked him down was when I posted him on my fairly public social media involving my job. He doesn't use social media and had no idea that she had even gotten pregnant. They've now started doing weekend visits that will eventually go to 60-40. I didn't really have a choice in this because he insisted that he can't abandon his child, and of course the implication that I have nowhere to go and no money. It's true, I have no safe family, even slightly nearby, and my friends don't have living situations that would be okay with a baby. It's not an explicit threat, but I can see reality, and I know when I'm stuck. He has been apologetic and promises that my life won't change, but this child's mother didn't get that memo. We've had a few visits with the kid, and now the mother is complaining that I'm too harsh and shouldn't expose myself in front of the kid. The only thing I said slightly harsh was yelling at them for sneaking into our bedroom without us knowing and messing with my jewelry box. My jewelry isn't costume jewelry. A lot of it is heirloom, and it is not a toy for a child. We also made the kid actually eat a vegetable, which did not involve yelling, but we make healthy food and will be expecting both children to eat what they're served. I also breastfeed, which for latching and comfort reasons, I do with my shirt off. It took almost 2 months to figure out that my baby won't latch unless I'm topless. The kid obviously saw this because feeding a baby waits for nobody, and I'm not hiding in my own house. I live here, and until recently was paying bills. She called me specifically about the breastfeeding thing, because apparently all nudity is bad, and I'm a criminal for letting her kids see boobs because now they're asking questions they're too young for, according to her. I started calmly explaining that breastfeeding isn't S, and my legal right to feed my ducking child whenever it needs to happen. She got irate and threw threats around, and it got more hostile. I ended up yelling back that I will never let a stranger who can't even figure out how to find her child's father dictate to me how to be a mother, or tell me I need to put my child's needs second. She hung up. My husband is backing me on everything. I have the legal right to breastfeed whenever necessary. It's even legal here for women to walk around with no shirts on in public even, so she can only make empty threats. Am I the a-hole? It's probably best to let your husband and her communicate until there is some common ground. She is nitpicking at you because you are the other woman. She's obviously a bit off her rocker. To keep the peace, don't speak to her and let your husband deal with it. I am a bit concerned that you said stuck in regards to him stepping up and his son being around. You're not the a-hole for breastfeeding, although going topless might be a bit much. Do you just never breastfeed out in public then? What does make you an a-hole is how you seem to have bottled up your resentment and are unleashing it towards a 6-year-old who had no idea they flipped your world around. Kids get into stuff. Put your jewelry up high so they can't reach it. Think of it as a protective move before your own kid is mobile. I also think you need to talk to someone about how you feel, because you don't seem to be coping well. This is the man you love enough to marry and have a child with, and it seems like if you were working still, you'd have just up and left him over this discovery. Try to approach thinking about this kid in a different light. They are 50% of your husband, the man you love and who has contributed 50% to your child. Try to see that bond as a positive. They're your child's half-sibling whether you like it or not. Yes, the a-hole. I understand that breastfeeding your child is your own decision, and you shouldn't be ashamed of it. I also understand why she wouldn't want her 6-year-old child to see a pair of breasts. Regardless of your feelings about the situation, surely a compromise can be found. It would be pretty easy to accommodate and breastfeed in the baby's room, or explain to the child there will be times when they are not allowed to come out into the public areas while breastfeeding is occurring. What it really sounds like is that you do not want her opinions on the situation dictating how you have to behave in your home. This is impossible to avoid. You are now a joint family. You are not going to agree on everything in regards to child rearing, so compromises have to be made. Whether she is right or wrong, she is still a parent. And why does what she wants for her child mean any less than what you want for your child? Also, telling her she's a bad parent because she didn't know how to locate the father of her child? How does that prove she is not a good mother to that child?